I'm happy to welcome you at the presentation of the new strategy of Dtek 2030. Today we will be speaking about the images of the future, about how we see it and how we create it, about the values, the people and the mission of big business, about the biggest branch of the humanity, the energy branch, the energy industry, about the future of the energy and the energy of the future. So, a new strategy of Dtek 2030. Ladies and gentlemen, so please, Director General of Dtek Maxim Timchenko. Friends, everybody who is hearing and watching us today, who is not indifferent as for the future of our company, of the Ukrainian energy sector, the future of Ukraine. First and foremost, I'd like to congratulate you with our professional day, Power Engineers Day, because today is that holiday of the power engineers who's become ours 15 years ago. And a huge gratitude to the dozens of thousands of people who are now at their shifts providing our life, giving light and heat for our homes. So maybe it's very symbolic that, in this day, the day of our professional holiday, we would like to look into the future. We imagine our vision and presenting how Dtek will be developing during the following years. The vision, which is based upon modern trends, on the development, the global development of energy. Today, we'd like to show our vision of how the energy will be changing and our country will be changing as well. This vision is based upon our 15-year experience, the understanding of the processes of the modern world. And I really hope that the new vision of Dtek will bring our company to success. First, in the beginning of this year, at one of the main events of the World Economic Forum in Davos, there was the manifesto adopted, an announcement. It was adopted by thousands of representatives of the biggest businesses, the representatives of the governments, heads of the states. The ideologist was a person who's founded the World Economic Forum, Klaus Schwab, and it seems to me this is the reflection of what the society now claims from bigger business, from the corporations which impact the development of the world. The aim of the company, the purpose of the company, is to engage all of its stakeholders in shared and sustainable value creation. Today, the society claims and requires from businesses some responsibility for the future of our generations. Not only the creation of material goods for the shareholders, but also some care of your own employees, the care about the environment, corporate behavior which is compliant to the human values, care about our future. And you know, it was so important to me for me to see that in this global agenda and the announcement which we could hear, there is our mission. 15 years ago, the company of Dtek has formulated a mission, our purpose. We are working for the sake of progress and flourishing of the society. Our energy carries light and heat for the people. These words were announced 15 years ago, and today, as never before, those words are correspondent to the global agenda and the purpose of the corporation, of the company, which are mentioned by the world elite. Well, maybe it's not that easy to find the words which could assess that level of transformation and changes which today are ongoing in the world. The world is entering the stage of energy transition to the vast usage of the renewables and also getting rid of the fossil fuels. This is a reality. This is the claim and requirement of the modern society. And such a global transformation, of course, will touch the companies which see their future and construct it, the future of not only of their companies, but the society where they are working at, the countries they are working in. Today we are saying that the future of the energy sector, first of all, is defined by 4 key trends. Decarbonization. As I already mentioned, the requirement of the society, of our people, to live in the world with clean air, with the care about nature, gave a huge impulse to the global trend of decarbonization, first of all connected with the development of the renewables, the decrease of the price of technologies for the construction of the renewables, opportunities of energy efficiency, electrification. Those are the points which today are already irreversible. Decentralization. Today, the energy sources are becoming closer to the consumers. Today, we have a unique process ongoing when the consumers can rapidly become the producers of electrical energy. Today, the level of the technology for the electric grids allows to manage both the consumption and the production of electrical energy at the level of the households of the end consumer. Digitalization. The speed of the development of technologies is so huge and significant that not a single modern business can speak about their even nearest future without the digital transformation. And it concerns all of the spheres of life, especially in the energy sector, especially of the consumer of electrical energy. ESG. Environmental social governance. Environment, social development, corporate governance. This is the value line which is becoming compulsory for the modern company. Maybe that is the acronym which is not that well known for us here in Ukraine, for our companies. But in the nearest future, it will become a compulsory requirement for our investors, and even today, more than 70% of the biggest international investment funds are not ready to invest into the companies if the companies are not living according to the principles of ESG. And all of our strategy and vision of the future are totally soaked with those principles, and we will be speaking about that today. And of course, the trend, the global trend, the challenge more than the trend is COVID-19, the pandemic. It has turned the world upside down. It concerns each of us, how we live, how we manage businesses, which business models are working now, how quickly business is ready to change, how business is flexible enough, whether it's digital enough, and of course, there will be time for the restoration of economy. And I consider that the period of post-COVID for Ukraine is one more opportunity and chance. The chance for our energy sector to reboot both the technologies and the priorities and the speed of the integration with the European energy system and the level of the digital solutions. That is a new challenge. The key trends of the Ukrainian energy market. First and foremost, reforms and liberalization of the market. I consider that Ukraine has conducted a huge step forward during the last 5 years from the perspective of the compliance of the environment where the energy sector is working to the civilized European competitive format. The gas market, liberalization and the solutions this year, the opening of the new market of the wholesale market of electrical energy and unbundling, all of that are the important decisions which were taken by the state, by the government, who agreed and adopted and promoted those solutions by all of the participants of the energy market. And what is doing our branch stronger, more competitive, which makes the market players to fight for the customer, to improve everything what we are doing. I think this is a very important trend, and it is so important for us not to stop and to provide those reforms up to the logical level and to develop on in the reforms. The transformation of the generating capacities, of course, very rapid development of the green generation, and Ukraine has had a very serious momentum and impulse during the last years to develop green generation, is impacting the structure itself of the electrical energy production. Now, the thermal power plants are changing their destination, having their maneuver and reserve of the capacities. And that is what will be developing further on. The more and more the green generation will be emerging in our generation mix. And this is the trend which is there and which we cannot change. The client centricity or client-centeredness. As I've already mentioned, the reformation and the liberalization of the market has put the client, the customer of the electrical services, in the center. And this is what we were trying to achieve for a very long time. Today, the conversation about monopolies, which were artificially created, is coming to the past. Today, the consumer, for whom we will be competing and fighting, is the most important. Today, the client experience is the most important, and the feedback of our consumers about the quality of the services we are providing. And we consider this is the most important trend for us as Ukraine, when in the center there is the client. The association with the European Union and European Green Deal. In December 2019, the European Union has announced about the unprecedented plan of the decrease of the emissions, which would impact not only the energy sector but the whole structure of the EU economy. They have announced the European Green Deal, the plan up to 2030, which would impact on all of the spheres of economy. And it's so nice that Ukraine is not set aside. Just several days ago, the president of Ukraine, Volodymyr Zelensky, has mentioned that our country is ready to take the obligations to reduce the emissions to the level of 36 to 42% of the level of 1990. And this announcement, this statement, is a signal for all of us, first of all, for the energy companies, and also for our colleagues, and altogether, the enterprises which are working in Ukraine in different spheres, to reconstruct their business, their technologies, the approaches to the business management to achieve this aim. Ukraine is very seriously moving on. As I've already mentioned, we have times and times increase of the green generation. We took lots of obligations within the association agreement with the European Union. Today, Dtek is one of the most active conductors of decarbonization. And that is our ambition, to become a leader in decarbonization, at least in our country. And I think that we can't speak about future of Ukraine in the European Union without the most serious attitude to the Green Pact, to the Green Deal of the European Union. And it's natural. There are certain challenges. The European trends are intertwined with the Ukrainian challenges. I've already mentioned about liberalization. I've mentioned about the development of the competitive environment. We've got more severe ecological, environmental requirements, both within the country and when we bring our goods to the European Union. We say that the most important milestone in our development will be the integration with the European energy system. We are speaking that the renewables, the nuclear energy, the hydro, is becoming the base for the energy production in the country. And it's so important for us to provide our future, our strategy, our plans through those trends, and to be permanently in the global agenda about the energy sector and altogether in the development of economy. Our expectations about the electrical energy consumption in the country, the annual growth, average annual growth is 1.3%, so we can see that up to 2030 the consumption of electrical energy in the country will grow by about 14%. The drivers of the growth will be industry and the communal and housing services, as I've already mentioned, electrification, and the electrical energy consumption as the main energy product will further grow. Still, the energy efficiency is becoming one of the very most important indicators, which is stopping the growth, so we will save electrical energy and use the technologies for that. The consumption by the population, as we can assume, will stay at the same level, And again, those are diverse trends. On the one hand, the consumption will grow. As for the services and the products and technologies, on the other hand, there will be more opportunities to manage this consumption and to save electrical energy. This amount of consumption will be provided by the producers of electrical energy which we can find today at the market. But I consider that this picture is very demonstrative. Our assumptions, our calculations witness that up to 2030 will have more than 2.5 times increase of the production of electrical energy through the renewables. The capacity of the green generation in Ukraine will achieve 13 gigawatt, and in 2030 it will be comparable to the capacity of the nuclear power stations. We can see that during the next 10 years, the nuclear electrical energy will be the basic for our country. And the share of the production, 57% in 2030. And of course, it's a huge challenge for our state and the government, how we can see the future of Energoatom and the extension of life of our nuclear power blocks. As I've already mentioned, the role of the coal generation will be changing, as well as of the thermal power plants. We can consider that there will be the incredible decrease, but still the thermal power plants will play a very significant role in the maneuvering, in the support of the growth of green generation we are speaking about, and in the provision of the reserve of capacities. We do not see big changes and shifts in the production of electrical energy, of hydro power stations and also pump storage power plants. The share of the market is changing because of the introduction of new capacities, but there won't be any dramatic changes. This is the picture which we can see in the production of electrical energy. Which are the main events in the energy sector during the next 10 years, which define the development of the energy companies? As I've already mentioned, for the tech company and altogether for the players of the market of electrical energy in the country, the implementation of the new model of the energy market was the same dramatic change as the new opportunities of green generation or digitalization. We were waiting for very long for our country to have a competitive market. We were not that comfortable when there was unfair naming of Dtek as a monopolist in the thermal generation. Today, this monopoly does not exist. And no one can say that Dtek is a monopolist, because we have the open market, because we have the opportunity to create direct relationship with the consumer, and the most important thing, the consumer has the opportunity to choose where to buy electrical energy from. Yes, not all of the segments of the market are so far working. Yes, we've got lots of complications during the year. Yes, we had the incredible interference of the regulator into the new market. And still we have those restrictions which do not allow this market to work to the full scale. But this is the huge step forward for the reconstruction of our energy sector, for the creation of the high-quality, different relationship between the producers and the consumers of the electrical energy. I've already mentioned about the liberalization at the gas market, when the households have an opportunity to choose the consumer of gas, the supplier of gas, the tariff plans, the pricing, which they're ready to pay for the gas. And I do hope, and we've presented here, that in 2023 we'll have as well the full liberalization at the electrical energy market, when all of the consumers, both households and industrial consumers, will be under the conditions of the competitive market. 2021 is important, and that is our hope and expectation that the government will be able to launch a different form of incentivization for the development of green generation, the transition to the auction model from the green tariff to the auctions. We welcome that. We consider that the system of support, which used to be during the previous years, the support of the development of green generation, has played its role, its significant role. It allowed the billions of investments to be invested into the green generation, to attract the biggest Western investors, the international funds, banks, and to make a huge leap forward in the development of green generation. But taking into consideration the changes which are ongoing, it would be fair, as for the consumer, to come to the more competitive model of the support of green generation, the green auctions. And I think that in the nearest future, the green generation, taking into consideration the technologies, the development and the experience, and the price of the capital, that's what's important for Ukraine, and we will be speaking about that as well, it should be comparable with our colleagues in Europe. All of those factors will allow green generation to compete at the open market, together with other types of generation which exist in Ukraine. RAB regulation is what the Ukrainian market has been waiting for a very long time. That's a new system, a stimulating, incentivizing system of rate making for our grid companies. We welcome the fact that since the 1st of January, our companies, the operators of distribution, will be working in a totally different tariff environment that will allow to increase the investments times and times. It will help to dramatically decrease and reduce the time of the delays and stoppages of electrical supply, the reliability of electric supply. It will become a very important factor, and rather quickly it will be improving, which will allow to reduce the losses. And of course we welcome such reforms. But, however, this is the first step, and we do hope that the reform of the rate making and pricing for the grid networks will be approximating to the European standards. And we will be in the similar rules of the game with our colleagues, European colleagues, who are working according to this system in the majority of countries. 2023, synchronization with the ENTSO-E, European energy markets. All of the years of the work of Dtek, we've supported the strategic decision of the state to synchronize our energy systems. The first step was the Burштyn Island, and today there are all of the reasons to believe that, first of all, Ukrenergo, as the leader of this process, can provide those obligations which we've taken in front of our European partners and to synchronize our energy system, which will give a huge impulse to the development of the energy sector in the country. It will make the market more competitive. It will give access of our Western partners to the Ukrainian market, and we do hope it will be a very important moment for the development of the energy sector in our country. 2023, the system of the waste trade will be more and more providing requirements from the European partners to bring this system of the waste trade, the environmental taxation and all of the components of our process and the green course of Europe, which of course we support in Ukraine. Those components will emerge in our market in 2023, as I think, and the further accomplishment of the national plan on waste reduction is a very important obligation Ukraine took. They are rather severe. They claim huge financial investments, and I consider that there should be the dialogue within, and the internal dialogue and the proper balance between the financial investments, the today's level of the development of technologies, and social implications as for those requirements compliance, because such an amount of investments will be impacting the price of the electrical energy. So I'm very happy that we have an ongoing dialogue with the ministries and our European partners how to provide proper decisions for Ukraine to achieve the obligations which I mentioned above and which the President of Ukraine has mentioned about the reduction of the waste. And of course, during the next years, we can see the fundamental changes of the business and culture of our company. We are for 15 years at this market. The company was created as a regional company at Donbass. 3 electrical power stations and 1 coal mine. That was a very traditional business, a regional company. But since the first day, this company has been created basing upon values. And I will remind you, I've mentioned about the mission of the company, which was formulated 15 years ago. And the same things are now mentioned by the world leaders. During those 15 years, we've acquired a huge experience. We've got mistakes, but also we had lots of achievements. And we are proud having those 15 years. And during the next 10 years, we want to preserve our leadership. The leadership in the market competitive environment. Leadership in the new technologies. Leadership in the innovations. Leadership in education. Leadership in the values which should be present in the modern companies and corporations which are working in the modern world. Transformation. We'd like to be changed. We'd like to have the transition from the high CO2 business to the environmental, efficient, technological business. Diversification. We can see our development in the gas production, green generation, trading of the distribution grids. Client centricity, I've already mentioned about that. The strengthening of the clients' and customers' role, not even strengthening, but the defining role, the decisive role in how we are conducting the business and our plans is our client, our consumer. So, we don't want just to supply electrical energy in kilowatt hours. Dtek will become the supplier of solutions, business solutions for our business customers, clever solutions for our households, smart solutions and the integrator of new technologies. The international expansion, I'm sure that our knowledge and experience, our people, allow today to announce louder about the international expansion of our company. First and foremost, the investments into the renewables, into the green generation in the European countries, and also into the development of trading in the EU. We are conducting the first steps, and we will be speaking about that as well today. Those are the fundamental changes which will take place in our company during the next years. So it's natural that we used to live in the corporate strategy which we had, and the stages of 2015-2020 were defined by 2 main words: efficiency and expansion. I think that we've conducted the possible maximum to increase efficiency of our company during the last 5 years. The efficiency of management, efficiency of production, efficiency of investments. Those are 3 key messages when we are speaking and when we discuss efficiency. In 2013, we've launched the high-scale program of the increase of operational efficiency, lean. This company, this program, has grasped and covered more than 95% of our employees. we've got more than 70,000 ideas how to improve efficiency from all of our enterprises. 70% of those ideas were implemented. And the economic effect of this program only during those 5 years was 4.5 billion hryvnia. I think that the reconstruction, the resetting of the systems, where in each of our businesses the efficiency was one of the most important tasks, both for the heads of the departments and the employees, and for the staff, brought some results and outcomes. And we were very convincing when we came to the new epoch of the competitive market. We feel ourselves competitive in all of the businesses we are conducting. Well, of course, the stage of this business was defined by the resetting of the system in the relationship with our consumers. During those 5 years, we were able to construct the infrastructure, the service center for the customers, the first steps in the digital technologies to improve our service and the interaction with our consumer. Those were the first steps. It's natural that at this stage it was so important to take active participants in the reforming of the market, liberalization of the market, and we were helping as much as we could for those changes which were conducted in the energy sector, first of all in the regulatory regulations to happen. So the new opportunities and expansion. During those 5 years, we've conducted a serious movement forward, creating new capacities of the renewables. Our ambitious goal to achieve 1 gigawatt of capacity up till the end of 2019 was achieved, and I sincerely thank all of the team who made their best to achieve such an ambitious goal. And it will provide, and is providing us, confidence that the future of the green generation will be achievable in our company. We used the opportunities of the competitive market to develop trading, and I think that this was a very important foundation for the further international expansion in trading. And if we speak about the following 5 years, then there are two defining words. Those are transformation and partnership. Transformation is what I've already mentioned about. We can see our future in the active development of the renewables, in the increase of the gas production volumes, the active investment of our distribution grids. We change the role of our thermal generation. We are trying to search for new opportunities, not only to provide services and maneuvering of the reserve capacity, the participants in the balancing market, the market of auxiliary services, but also the new ideas, the new products to use the infrastructure of our thermal power stations. We extract coal. We go on doing that. Coal is needed, at least in the horizon of the next 10 years. We look at the new products which can be created out of coal, and we are searching for those products which are needed by the market and which can pay back. We are having the transformation conducted in the creation of relationship with our customers, which services we provide. Well, again, without just restriction with the selling of kilowatt hour only. And the whole transformation stage is soaked with the changes connected with the value platform of ESG. So we are speaking not only about the transformation of the technologies, the businesses or business solutions. We're speaking about the transformation of our culture, our corporate culture, our corporate behavior, our relationship with the society, and with every single person. The next 5 years, the second important term for it is partnership. Dtek will become the more open company for partnerships, both within the country and the international arena. It's very important for us to create trusting, open relationship with our partners. We would like to have more Western companies at the market of Ukraine. We're doing everything possible when we discuss that with our partners, with the potential investors, to convince them, to persuade them to invest in Ukraine. And I'm sure that the open position only, just partnership where each of the sides can take something or maybe even study something from each other, will allow to involve billion investments to Ukraine, without which it's impossible to have the transformation of the energy of our country. In 2025-2030, we've appointed the main business in the innovations. We will be speaking about that as well. We are conducting the first steps, but very important and fundamental steps from the perspective of the transformation of our business into the innovative business. I'm sure that Dtek is capable to become innovation's leader, and today we've got lots of examples for that. And the next stage witnesses that the whole business of Dtek should be soaked with the new technologies, the innovations, the artificial intelligence, digital solutions, new business models, which are coming from those technological opportunities. I'm sure that in 5 years we will have a different business in how we are making our decisions, how we produce a product, how we communicate with our consumers. Diversification. 2025 and 2030, Dtek will become the international company. The geographical diversification is so important for us, as I've already mentioned. Our experience, our knowledge, which we gained during those 15 years, allows us to say about that loudly. And during the next years, we'll begin the first investments, but through the partnership, through the trust with our foreign European, first of all, partners, we can loudly announce about ourselves in the European Union. As I've already mentioned, 15 years ago we had a regional company in the traditional kind of business. 15 years after that, this group of companies, which is presented here, and during those years, we've invested more than $20 billion into the energy sector of Ukraine. Each of this company is the leader in their sphere, in their niche in the energy sector. Dtek Energo is the company which is producing coal and electrical energy out of coal. Dtek Renewables, VIA, is our green generation. Neftegas, oil and gas, is the biggest private company in the gas extraction. Dtek Grids, that is Dtek Seti, is our distribution grids in the most important regions and cities of Ukraine. D-Trading and D-Solutions are the companies which were born thanks to the reforming and liberalization of the market and unbundling which took place. And each of these companies, during such a short period of time, has become a leader in what it's doing. I would like to speak in a nutshell about the strategic aims of each of these companies. Dtek Energo. We would like to produce electrical energy during the next 10 years out of coal of our own extraction. We are having the ideology of heat and thermal generation. We are working on the efficiency of the coal extraction. We are investing in the improvement of our parameters and indicators of thermal power stations. We are reconstructing ourselves to play a new role in the thermal generation in our energy system, which I mentioned above. And we would like to be leaders still in the competitive market of electrical energy in Ukraine, as I mentioned above, the leader not only in the production volume of electrical energy or the prime cost. I think that Dtek Energo is taking a worthy niche in the overall volume of the electrical energy production, considering the trends. But we will be the leader in the services provision, the price of the services, balancing, maneuvering. We will go on taking part in the reforming of this market. Now we are seriously looking at the new technologies, and we've got some pilot projects on the energy storage. And in the first quarter next year, we will launch our first pilot project of the whole Ukraine on the energy storage in the industrial scale. We're searching for the new place and new products for Dtek Energo, using the infrastructure which we have now. Today, the transformation is concerning this company most of all, and I'm sure that with the team, with the ideas, with those thoughts and technologies, with that breakthrough of the efficiency which we had during the previous 5 years, the company of Dtek Energo is the example for both for other companies in Dtek and the market as a whole. A big challenge for Dtek Energo is the transformation of coal regions, of course. And Dtek Energo is the company which bears a very big social load and burden of responsibility for this transformation to be fair in the cities where we are working, as for our people who are living in those cities. And I'm sure, I'm convinced that the change of the technologies and the decrease of the share of coal generation in Ukraine and in the world will push Dtek Energo to the search of new solutions for this company to have the same 10 worthy years as the previous 15. Dtek via, that is renewables, the strategy of the development. We are speaking about the increase of the capacity installed with the help of the full cycle of the implementation of the projects and efficiency capital management. What do we mean? First of all, we'd like to stay a leader at the market of the renewables in Ukraine. For today, Dtek Renewables is one of the biggest producer of the electrical energy, though the market is not concentrated. The share of the market is approximately 14% of the green generation. We are waiting for the decisions of the government about the form of support of green generation or any other forms of green kilowatt-hour sales. It will be a certain signal for us to go on the creation of the new capacities. We will do that in Ukraine. Today, in a very active phase, we are developing our investments into the European countries, and I'm sure that in 2021 we'll have the first pilot projects on the construction of the wind and solar generation in the European Union. The international expansion is, as I've already mentioned, with the renewables, is one of the drivers for our expansion beyond Ukraine. And I think that during those 10 years, as for the volume of the installed capacity, both in Ukraine and in the European Union, Dtek will become one of the leading companies. The full cycle of the project implementation is, first of all, concerning the team which is formed today in Dtek Renewables. I consider that our experts, both in engineering and construction and design, are one of the best, and not only in Ukraine. Our international expansion will be supported to the max by those guys and ladies, the experts, who've constructed capacities in Ukraine. So today we can construct from the scratch to the launch and management of the wind and solar power stations. The efficient capital management is a very important parameter for the construction of green generation. The price of the capital is defining the economy of these projects. And here, this is a home task for us from the perspective of the work with the international market and the capital, and for Ukraine. for the price of capital in Ukraine not to be 3-4 times higher than the European countries, it makes us non-competitive. And the price of the capital in Ukraine depends on how Ukraine is trusted by the Western investors, how Ukraine is trusted by the national business, and which risk bonus is claimed because of the uncertainty in the country, stability, the European regulatory environment, respect for the investors, respect for the private estate. So all of those are the factors which are impacting the price of the capital and, as an implication, the competitiveness of our companies and our economy. Dtek Neftegas, Dtek Oil and Gas, the strategy of the growth. Our first investments into oil and gas were done in 2013. And today I'm sure that the team which is working in Dtek Neftegas is a benchmark in how we can search and implement new technologies, how we can increase efficiency of gas extraction, how we can show incredible growth. I'd like to remind you that since 2013, the volume of gas production of all of the fields where we began our investments has increased by more than 4 times. And today, a huge trust, professional trust of the companies which deal with the gas production and oil production. So, considering the needing character of this product in Ukraine, considering the green transition when gas is becoming more of a priority, we can see a very active development and growth of the gas production. We see that during the next year there can be 2 points. Dtek will begin to produce oil in Ukraine, will expand the portfolio of assets in Ukraine, both through the participants in the open auctions and through the sales of the private companies. And of course, the growth of this company would be impossible without the newest technologies. For us, it's so important to have the partnership with our colleagues from the United States of America and Canada, from other countries, for Ukraine to have the most contemporary, the modern technologies in their intelligence and the extraction of gas and oil. Today, we are proud of the achievements which we've got in Neftegas, in oil and gas. I will remind you that our team has drilled the deepest well in Europe with a commercial net, and we know that this is not the limit. We need to move on. I think that there are all of the assumptions to say that Dtek can have the leading positions and preserve them in the private extraction of gas in our country. Dtek grids. In the same way, we are speaking here about the growth strategy. I consider that today we've created all of the preconditions at the market of Ukraine for the grid companies to change dramatically and cardinally, both in their reliability and the quality of the customer service and the decrease of the losses. Neither digitalization, nor the implementation of new technologies, nor the creation of green generation is possible without the development of our grids, electrical grids. I consider that all of the businesses of Dtek, to this or that extent, are connected with how successful is the development of Dtek grids. We've got a huge experience of work in this business. We've got some understanding of the priorities of investments. That is why our long-term strategy witnesses about the expansion of the assets portfolio. We are ready to take more and more part in to take part both in the procurement and the acquirement of the grid companies, both in Ukraine and beyond it. We will be working on the improvement of the regulations, and again, I welcome the solution which was taken for the RAB regulation. I think this is a very important first step which would stimulate and incentivize the grid companies to invest and to reduce the operational costs. And in the end of the day, as the outcome, it will be reflected on the reliability of electrical supply and the price of kilowatt hour. Today, the losses in the grids cost us 15 billion hryvnia. I consider that the investments would allow us to reduce this volume which is paid by each Ukrainian consumer because of the losses in our distribution grids. And of course, it's connected with the efficient investments. First and foremost, this is the updating of our production funds and digitalization. I think that everything which is connected with the digitalization and grid management is the most important trend today in the world, and as I've already mentioned, not a single business which we discuss today can work without the smart digital grids. Detrading. I consider that this company, in fact, just rushed into the new market. And I would like to welcome the whole team, which works rather quickly under the conditions of the total instability and uncertainty and ongoing reforming of our energy market, was able to really show itself what it's worth, to find and to implement the newest technologies, first of all analytical ones, to deserve the trust of the customers whom we supply electrical energy, and to create new products, though the regulations are not allowing us to do that properly. And I consider that trading in that unstable environment is playing a huge role for the sustainability of not only Dtek, but the whole system. Today, the huge risks and volatility because of the technologies and geopolitics, because of the first elements of energy markets which emerge and they haven't become stable, and also the work of the trading is so important to flatten, to smoothen these deviations and to provide stability into our life for the energy system and the biggest energy companies, and stability for our consumers of electrical energy and their products. That's what our detrading is doing today. And I think that both people and technologies and the software and the analytical tools and the artificial intelligence as a technology which is already today in detrading will allow us to speak seriously about the international expansion. We are working on that today, and I think that our team will be successful. Well, and of course, international expansion and trading in Ukraine cannot deal without the best modern risk management systems. That is why the task for today, for our team, is to create such systems which would allow to trade energy products, taking into consideration the acceptable risks, and to have one more opportunity to expand our business further on. Dissolutions. The new business, which has also been created as the outcome of the unbundling, the separation with the generations. And today I've already mentioned a lot, and I've said that the client, the customer, the consumer plays a totally new role in the ecosystem, in the coordinate system of the energy companies and the branch. The huge hopes and expectations are laid on this company, Dissolutions. This is the company which is now at the front line. How we can measure the pulse of the attitude towards us by the customer, by the consumer. And of course, it's impossible to turn upside down the whole story and the legacy. The history which was created during the monopoly times. Today, we've got only one natural monopoly, that is Dtek grids, which is totally managed by the state. But not a single other businesses of Dtek is a monopoly. It's working in the open market. And maybe has some direct assessment by our consumers. It's a powerful retail brand. We've got the brand Yasno. I consider that we can be proud by those first steps and the life of this brand. We can be proud of them. This is the brand which was created to take care of people, to take care about our consumers, to simplify their lives, to provide heat and comfort. This is what we can say about Yasno. But those are the first steps. And maybe we haven't deserved the round of applause from our consumers. Maybe there's more criticism today which we can hear. And this is the challenge for our team and the team of Dissolutions, first of all. It's so important for us, for our declarations and promises to coincide with the reality, with what is happening, and this is responsibility of the whole team of ours and the company of Dissolutions. The powerful retail brand is again supported by the real actions, the very broad line of products and solutions. We don't want to be restricted only by the sales of kilowatt hours. Today we sell gas already. Today we sell smart solutions for the households. Today we are selling solar panels for the rooftops. Today we give the opportunity for the customers to be more prosumers. That's what I was mentioned about, the unique role of the customers when they can both consume and sell the electrical energy into the grids. And of course the best customers experience. For me it's incredibly important for our customer to choose Yasno, not just because they don't have any other choice, but because it's the best company which provides services. I have told about the main vectors in a very short form about each of our businesses. But in the modern world, business strategies are impossible without the value foundation. Since 2007, our company is the participant of the Global Pact of the UN. 12 goals in the sustainable development within the Global Pact were adopted by our company as the obligations. And based upon those goals, we've formulated our ESG strategy.
Человек всегда стремился создать комфортные условия для своего существования. В эпоху цифровой трансформации и развития новых технологий для достижения устойчивого и безопасного будущего мы должны научиться жить в гармонии с природой, беречь ресурсы и решить накопившиеся проблемы экологии. Быть социально ответственными, управлять бизнесом прозрачно и открыто. Как участник глобального договора ООН с 2007 года, ДТЭК разделяет цели устойчивого развития. Для их достижения в компании разработана и принята долгосрочная ESG-стратегия Dtek до 2030 года. С момента своего основания группа Dtek уже инвестировала 19,5 миллиардов гривен в устойчивое развитие. Dtek. Энергия в действии.
So, in a nutshell, about the sense which we have in our ESG strategy, three components. The first one is environmental, the protection of the environment. Today, going on with the global trends, supporting them, and our attitude towards the values of the company. Of course, we cannot help taking the obligation to protect the environment and minimize and mitigate the impact of our production enterprises onto the environment. We are announcing about the carbon neutrality of Dtek company up to 2040. That's an important announcement for us. We've already mentioned about that. Today, we've reflected it as our obligation, and the whole structure of business and what we'll provide during the next years, I'm sure, will provide the accomplishment of this promise. Up to 2030, the share of the renewable electrical energy in the net outcome of the group will be at least 33% up to 2030. This is the speed of our development, and I consider this is the minimal indicator. Up to 2025, we are appointing a goal to be compliant to the European legislation as for the emissions. They are listed in the obligations of Ukraine and reflected in the national plan, which is working today. We are speaking about the initiative of the planting of 1 million trees up to 2030, and this initiative is what we are developing today. Unfortunately, the pandemic introduced its adjustments, but I think that since the next year, we will come back to this program. And what's important for me, that this strategy and those obligations were taken by the heads of all of our businesses. There were lots of discussions, those were calculations, and this is what's possible for us to do, to accomplish. Social development. First of all, it's about the relationship of the company with the society. All of those years, we've invested a lot into the territories where our companies are working. We've constructed the relationship basing upon the social partnership programs. During the complicated times, whether it's war or pandemic, the company of Dtek and our production enterprises were always supporting the inhabitants who are living in the city-forming towns where we have our enterprises, stations or coal mines. Our task is to provide the zero lethality. Unfortunately, in the coal business, especially here, this task is still not accomplished. But I consider that this is a compulsory condition for the work of the company. We, through the creation, through the development of the talents, are saying that the company will still have the low level of rotation, which means that the people will want to work in the company of Dtek. We're saying that Dtek will take an active part in the volunteers movement, in the studies and training of the volunteers, the organization of such movements, especially in the regions where we are present. Governance is, first of all, about the relationship between the company and our stakeholders. I can be sure that Dtek has one of the best practices, not only in Ukraine, on corporate governance, the governance of risk management and compliance, ethical behavior. I consider that the ethical code and the anti-corruption program, which is compulsory for all of the employees of our company, are working. There we've listed all of the principles, and there we've listed the requirements, which cannot be violated by any of our employees. We would like to construct transparent, open business. We want to be correspondent and compliant to the best European standards. Because if we don't do that, then we won't be trusted by the investors or the society, and our plans and our programs won't be successful. And if we are saying that Our corporate behavior, our values are reflected in the ESG strategy. Our plans and our investments are reflected in the business strategy. So, of course, the implementation of these plans is impossible without the serious attitude towards the innovations, information technologies, and digitalization. So if we speak about the innovations, 3 years ago, we collected a little team to conduct the first steps for us, an industrial company, in the search of the innovative solutions. We were searching for our own way. Those were startups and the sessions with the guys from different towns and cities of Ukraine who were ready to share their ideas and their solutions, who needed support from the bigger companies. We are creating open platforms where we are collecting ideas from the whole world to respond to the challenges and the requests from our production enterprises. And today our ideology in the development of innovations is based upon the 3 horizons. Horizon 1 is the search of the innovative solutions connected with our traditional or current business, which is first of all created for the increase of the efficiency of the production and safety. A nice example could be the implementation of Wi-Fi technologies in our mines, the mine of Yubileyная, which allows in the live real-time mode to provide signals both within the mine and to the surface, which is a very important factor to respond to some dangerous situation. And the further development of the undersurface Wi-Fi technologies will allow us to manage the production equipment and to extract coal. This is becoming the reality, what we could only dream of about 5 years ago, about the extraction of coal without people, but we are moving to that. And the examples of the use of technologies for the electrical lines avoidance. So today, in our grid companies, we can use the drones, and it's not a unique history to use drones to avoid the power lines, but also the part of our production process, or the use of drones to measure and to assess our coal warehouses, which is also the part of our work already. Horizon number 2, the solutions in the adaptation for the adaptation in the changes in the energy sector. We are speaking here about the services around the kilowatt hour. An example could be the technology which we are using today for the communication with our consumers, for the provision of new services, for the format of work through the robots in our customer services centers. Horizon number 3 is the creation of new businesses and business models which are not connected to energy sector. Today, the opportunity and the access to our consumers, which are approximately 10 million, by the way, allows us to implement new services which are directly not connected with the energy. For instance, telemedicine, telehealthcare, and we will be speaking about that tonight. I think that those innovative solutions which can be found in each of those horizons, and which our team is searching for, having access to the world resources, will allow innovations to become part of our life and the part of our transformation. Information technologies. Today, we also have an ongoing changes in the role of our IT departments and altogether of the information technologies. And we are moving from the expenses center when IT was just providing services connected with either the use of computer technology or a connection communication to the role of the value creator. Today, IT is becoming a compulsory condition for the development of any company and implementation of the technologies we are mentioning now. We have developed the strategy of IT. We know what we will be doing during the next 5 years. But the most important that that at our place, IT is creating the new value. It is becoming the driver for new products, new business solutions, new business models. And this is the transformation which is ongoing in the IT and which is becoming a strategic partner for each of the businesses of Dtek. Digitalization. I've already mentioned about that as well. 3 main key components which we can see in the further development of the digital technologies of our company is technology and physical digitalizations. There are lots of examples of that, beginning with the robots which we are using in the accounting and reducing the manual labor and decreasing the level of human error. Digitalization of the processes and automation is what we're using in the production today, all the deeper analytics and algorithm, where first and foremost the huge role is played by big data and artificial intelligence to process a huge bulk of data which is formed by our company. Both the behavior of our consumers and the predictability of the situation with the energy consumption. It's so pleasant for me to state that our Ukrainian startups, for instance, the company of Agnostic, which has signed a contract with us more than a year ago, has provided a solution for our trading which allows us to foresee the energy consumption with a precision of 97%. This is our future. This is what we'd like to have more and more among the Ukrainian companies and startups, for them to find their place in the Ukrainian industrial companies. Academy of Dtek. I will be frank with you, Academy of Dtek is our pride. This year, it has the 10th anniversary. First, it used to be a project to provide some small courses and to teach them for our experts and managers. It used to be a traditional center of the production, training, but gradually the Academy has become maybe an inseparable part of our company and the future. Since the very beginning, 15 years ago, we were saying that the people is the biggest value which can be found in any company, but in particular in Dtek. And how you treat people, both from the perspective of the workplace and the opportunities to realize and the development, and also from the perspective of the career development and the future, is defining the success of the company. We've overcome the way since the Academy, the traditional center of training, to the open corporate university, where we use the technologies and the products which we have created within the company, and we expanded it for the market. Now we've got lots of partnership agreements with the state authorities and also with the employees of other companies, with the external customers, and today we've got the ongoing transformation of the Academy. And I think this is the consequence of the trends which are ongoing in the world, and also the consequence of the pandemic, when online training has become the only way. And today we create a new ecosystem, which is constructing the cardinally different relationship between the training institution or training company and our industrial and private customers. We are saying that the creation of the technological platform which can collect all of the practices of our academy throughout the 10 years, which can collect all the best practices in the world training and studies of the best business schools, which can find a unique connection between online and offline training, which can take a person to define the spheres of his development and to define what he or she needs to be trained and to take him or her through the career. This is our ambition. We'd like to be the leader in the training. We'd like to introduce lifelong learning in Ukraine, this kind of concept when the person who is getting to our training system, he or she has certain understanding how he or she will be developing, what needs to be developed, and how it will be impacting the further career growth and opportunities. First and foremost, this is the ecosystem, this program, which will be set up for the employees of our company. But we like, having worked on this unique technological platform of Dtek during the next year, a year and a half, to expand our horizons and to attract the employees and to attract the customers, both from Ukraine and other countries. And I consider that such a serious attitude towards the training and education, the development of people in Dtek, which is looking through all of the boards of the companies, witness again that the person, the human being, the personality, is the most valuable, not only in the company but in the society. And this is also the question on transformation of our society. For 15 years ago, we formulated the values of the company of Dtek. Openness, responsibility, cohesion, and also the striving for improvement, professionalism. And the new value which we formulated, that is client centricity. Those are our principles. This is the portrait of a person who's working in Dtek. This is the portrait of the people with whom we'd like to cooperate. This is the responsibility and obligations of the managers of the company to bring up such people. For me, it's a huge honor and pride to work with such people for 15 years. And I'm sure that success of our company, the future of the company, depends on whether more and more there are people with such values embedded in them. The portrait of Dtek company is like this. I think that the colleagues who are working in the company can recognize this flower. We didn't give it the name, but each petal has a very important meaning there. When we speak about the energy sector, we are saying which businesses we are developing further on. When we're speaking about the customers, we are saying which services, client services, and which relationship and priorities we point. When we speak about Ukraine Plus, it's about our ambitions, about our expansion of the business. When we speak about the efficiency, we speak about the efficiency of management, the production of the investments. When we speak about the people, we speak about the development, the training at the academy. When we speak about the society, we speak about our value principles and the ESG strategy. Let's watch the video.
Dtek увеличивает добычу газа, активно развивает возобновляемые источники энергии и электрические сети как основу для управления производством и потреблением электроэнергии. Dtek добывает уголь для полного обеспечения тепловой генерации компании. Dtek реализует программу трансформации для создания доверительных отношений с клиентами за счет предоставления лучшего в отрасли сервиса, разнообразного портфеля продуктов и решений. Dtek стремится стать эталоном клиентоориентированности в Украине. Dtek становится международной компанией, создает собственную инновационную экосистему и привлекает лучшие в мире технологии, экспертизу и партнеров для развития бизнеса в Украине. Компания выходит на международные рынки электроэнергии, газа и угля, создавая глобальную трейдинговую инфраструктуру и реализуя проекты ВИЭ. Эффективность производства, эффективность инвестиций и эффективность управления – базовые принципы работы Dtek. Поиск и внедрение инноваций являются основой для дальнейшего развития компании. Люди являются ключевой движущей силой развития Dtek и источником конкурентного преимущества. Dtek активно инвестирует в развитие сотрудников, привлекает новые таланты и продвигает инновационную культуру. Dtek – ответственный инвестор, надежный партнер и крупнейший работодатель. Компания вносит свой вклад в трансформацию украинского общества и построение конкурентной экономики, действует прозрачно и открыто, поощряет предпринимательство, сотрудничество и инновации. Компания продвигает современные международные стандарты экологической безопасности и лучшие практики по охране труда. Dtek. Энергия в действии.
This is our portrait. Those are our ambitions. This is our view of the future. As I've already mentioned, the future would be impossible without the present and without the past. I think that Dtek had a very worthy past, a very ambitious present, and I consider that the future, which we will be proud of, this is the future of not only Dtek, this is the future of our branch, and somewhere this is the future of Ukraine. This future cannot be successful without the people. That is why people who are ready to go along this ambitious way, the investments which we are ready to provide into the sustainable development, those are the components which allow us to look forward with some certainty, in spite of all the complications, to move on, to provide trends in our country, to change ourselves and to change the environment, to change our corporate behavior and to become more open in the relationship with our partners. And I'm sure that this is the road to success. Thank you.
Maxim
Viktorovich, first of all, thank you so much, and I think that I'll be joined by all of the presentees in the studio. You can provide a round of applause. I would like to say that, first of all, that was a very ambitious And that is why very exciting presentation. I think that the presentees, employees here who are more integrated in the process, they have considered that in a more natural way. But we are watched in the broadcast by lots of people, so I think there is a certain shift of the cliches. A kind of the miscorrespondence. What you are mentioning is a totally revolutionary change. They would be impossible without the support of the society. So how can a company impact the formation of the certain societal narratives? How can you give everybody, both your present and potential customers, everybody without the exclusions, employees in the fields, this system of values, priorities of the environmental way of life, the value of human life, the development, education, how? Thank you for your attention and for your question. I think that it's so relevant now about what we mentioned just now. You know, we've conducted some social surveys, and we're doing that rather often when there are some needs of our customers in that. And of course, today, unfortunately, in Ukraine, there is such a situation that the material welfare, the opportunity to have a nice salary are now coming to the priority as for the needs of our people. But one of the top priorities is the future of the children, the care about the children. And for the people today and maybe always, this will be one of the main requests for the state and the society. I'd like to be sure that my child is happy. And this is about the future. Today we are speaking about the responsibility of the company for the future generations, the future of our children. This is what's needed. The future should be environmentally clean. The future where we'll have respect for the personality. The future which includes freedom, the development, the opportunity to get education. That's what's needed. And I consider that Dtek somehow needs to provide some kind of an educational work to tell that the changes which we announced and which we did for the 15 years is for the sake of the future of our children. And the more we have in this discussion, in this message, the more allies we have, when we have this critical mass of allies, when the society believes, then the society will understand that such companies and such transformations are needed for the sake of every human being. Because in Ukraine, there will be living our children. Well, I can really remember sustainable development here, because this is the permanent search of the compromise between the needs of the today's generation and the needs of the future. This is the future of our children you've just mentioned. Would you please tell, is it real? Is it totally comprehensible to have the needs of this generation, the generation which is living under the conditions of serious risks and pandemic, which we will definitely mention now. Let us not speak about it only now. But still, in fact, this is a kind of an element of self-restriction. We wouldn't like to be sacrificed. Do you understand what I mean? We think about the future, but still we satisfy our needs. How can we make it compatible? This is sustainable development. Well, you know, we cannot be in the future because we don't have the time machine. We are speaking how Dtek should look like in 10 years. We showed the portrait of our company. But this is the road which we need to go along. We are living in the reality. We need light electrical energy in the households. We need accessible price of the electrical energy. The services should be accessible. And when we speak about digitalization today, for that, we need internet at home to use those new technologies and so on. And of course, we are realists. So we are going along this road knowing whom we'd like to become. It seems to me it's so important for any company, and for us, first of all, to see the goal, to know for the sake of what we are doing all of that, to create trust with our customers, with our consumers, with the people, the trust with the society. It would be impossible to be a successful company without the trust of the society and the success in Ukraine. And I think that today it's not the first time when we're speaking about our goals, about our future, about the portrait of Dtek. So it's so important for us, for those announcements and declarations to coincide with the actions which we are providing. Okay, but not everything depends on you. There is a so-called unpredictable factors. So please, the last year, this is what 2020 taught us. We don't know anything about our own future, though we can predict and forecast and even plan a lot. The pandemic, the first in this millennium, but maybe it's not the last one. How it impacted directly onto the business of Dtek? This is the first point. And secondly, how do you plan to implement the new strategy in the new pandemic reality? Well, because it's more than for 1 year. You see, the new strain of the virus modifications, the new pandemic reality is formed. Then how? Well, you know, Dtek was working during 15 years in such a, I would say, unstable environment. So we know how to convert the problems and the challenges into the dignities and strengths that maybe pandemic, of course, it impacted our financial outcomes and business outcomes, but it was a very big push, a huge push, to provide certain changes which we're not seriously considering before. From the simplest things, like remote mode of work, because we were speaking about this schedule for about 5 years, but we couldn't create it as the structurally hierarchical company. But today, in spite of the end of the pandemic or not, approximately 30% of our office employees will be working remotely. We found the model for each business when it is not only interfering, but vice versa, it will improve our efficiency, beginning with that and ending with our discussion about the values. Because such dramatic changes touched each of us so much that you're just unwillingly thinking about the mission of the company, why the company is working at all, what's important for the company, why our people are spending 2/3 of their lives in this company. For the sake of what? For the material welfare, or maybe for some more important points, and for our future. That is why I look forward with some optimism. The pandemic taught us a lot. It made us cope with such complications and challenges which we didn't know before. But it also made us change. It made us to speed up in the processes and become the leaders of these changes in Ukraine. And we will remind about the risks which we knew before. Ukraine has its own peculiar set of risks, but a bit later, dear friends, if you'd like to ask the question, would you please look at me and just let me know that you'd like to take part in our dialogue, please, and we'll definitely join you. But still, one more question, which is very important for me. This is the value system for the business. Very often we're speaking about our society as the society of the winning social Darwinism. How, in this environment, can we explain to the business, first of all, that the money is not the aim, but the tool to transform the society? In fact, this is ESG. Those are the obligations, not just principles, but obligations which you are taking. A totally different orientation of the business, not only to earn money and to satisfy social needs, but also to act under the impact of social expectations, emotions. It's a different kind of business. The company which takes such obligations couldn't be competitive in the Ukrainian business environment. Well, maybe not today, but I think that this is the consensus of the society, and especially of the new generations, that we'd like to be in Europe. We'd like to integrate to the max into the environment where the European countries are working and the European society is living in. And believe me, trust me, the future of the company cannot be successful if it is not changing and it's not implementing such ESG principles. I've already mentioned about that today. It is becoming not just the need or the declaration or the values which depend on the stakeholders of the company or the shareholders or the top management. This is the business requirements. Today, such companies which are not compliant to these requirements won't be funded. There won't be capital. And if you don't have access to the capital markets, you cannot speak about any ambitious aims on the development, on the expansion, the growth, and so on. That is why I think that today we've got a transformation ongoing, which is more and more should be understood by Ukrainian companies, that if we don't change, if in our corporate life and behavior we are not compliant to those principles, we won't be able to work in the modern environment. Well, but you mentioned about the international investment capital. How is it behaving with their amendments to the risks connected with the pandemics and, on the other hand, the risks which are inherent to the Ukrainian reality? Do they want to cooperate with us? Whether they are active, getting in touch with us? Where are you searching for partners as the company of Dtek? What is the geography of your interests? Well, you know, it seems to me that in the questions of international capital, the most important word is trust. And we are speaking about ourselves as a Ukrainian company. And the direct association is with Ukraine as a country. And the practices and the regulations, the obligations which Ukraine took as a country. And all of the Ukrainian companies directly depend on that in the relationship with the foreign partners. Respect for law, fairness, respect for private real estate and private property, the respect for investors, the equal rules of the game, strong and independent institutions which are regulated by the branch, and so on. I can list them endlessly. Those are all components of trust. The components of trust which define whether we have international capital, the price of the international capital, the wish of the Western companies to come. Rather often, before the pandemic, we've met with the potential partners who were interested in us, the biggest European companies, and, unfortunately, rather often I heard that, so far, Ukraine is not on their corporate map of their development and expansion of business. Why? And then they mentioned what I listed above. And as speaking about the values and responsibility for the future of our country, the future of our children, is to create all of the conditions for this trust to emerge. Because with the international partners, not only the money is coming to the country, but also the practices are coming, the values are coming, the principles of ESG, which we are mentioning about, are coming. In the European countries, it is becoming the part of the corporate life. And we are only starting and trying to decipher this acronym. So I think that this is the homework, a home task for the business, both Ukrainian and the Ukrainian authorities. Well, maybe yes, for the business, but for all of the citizens. When I spoke about a certain cognitive difference, I meant our usual daily life. And suddenly here is emerging, here are your guys with smart grids and artificial intelligence, which is working already. Just yesterday I was mentioning that yes, we are just providing Wi-Fi through the energy. This is the precedent at their mind. Is it science fiction? Yes, we spoke about that yesterday, right? Or maybe the story about telemedicine. That's incredible in my opinion. It's so cool, such the perspectives which are opening. In fact, I'd like to speak about the context of the studies, about digitalization, the training. And this is again about the level and compatibility. Can we provide digital reforms, transformations of such level beyond the transformation of the whole energy sector? I would say even more, beyond the transformation of the whole economy of the country. It's possible, because we are doing that, And I consider that in our country, during the last year, year and a half, lots of things were made from the point of view of digitalization and the scale of the country. I give the round of applause to those heads of the departments and the guys who are doing that. DIA maybe is the most demonstrative story because we're also having some common solutions to use this app to promote our program of training. I do hope that we will achieve certain agreements, but we wanted to answer the question what digitalization in Dtek is. Because you can take a cell phone, you can create it for the employees and to say, we are now digital because we have cell phones. No. We were creating the formula of digitalization for ourselves, a high-scale program with the name of MODUS, and we will be speaking about it in details later, which in the first wave has been defined what the digital mine is, what the digital electrical power station is, what the digital field is. And we've created the image of the future of the digital mine. The solution about the Wi-Fi in the mine was not spontaneous because this is the trend. This is the well-thought-through technology which allows us to manage the production and the security. And the same story is about the electrical power stations. We are speaking today that we need to weigh in the economic effect and the opportunities of digital technologies. And in fact, digital technologies today help us to manage the modes of the work in the electrical power stations. They provide us predictive analysis and not to repair everything, but only the thing where we have the high probability of any of the breakage. So that's what we do in our business. We don't do that to the high scale for everyone to, for everybody in the country to use it. So I would say yes, it is possible. But when we are coming to the consumer, when we are suggesting new services for the consumer, we depend on the scale of the country, whether, for instance, the person has access to the internet to use the service. This is where we depend on the state. But I think that the today's trend and the message from the power, from the authorities, is rather powerful as for digitalization of the country. Let us speak a bit more about the leading conception and thinking, because among today's participants, the participants of the presentations of the strategy, we don't have a single woman as the speakers, but I can see women in the audience. There are women. Would you please tell, what's it connected with? Is there a certain discrimination within Dtek? Or maybe this is a peculiarity of the branch. The woman cannot implement herself. The men are smiling here, even at the level of the directors of the companies, right? They are smiling. But no, it's not funny. I will stop smiling now. Well, you know, we are always trying to objectively acknowledge our mistakes and underdoings. So maybe this is the lack of the gender balance in the top management. And I don't think that this is connected with the peculiarity of the branch. I think that there cannot be successful discussion or decision-making without the presence of a woman. And unfortunately, among the speakers, but also among certain teams, we have some issues about that. We take certain obligations to correct this situation. Okay, let's speak about the obligations more. This word of client centricity, one of the most important ones, a huge consumers network. From the individual households to the bigger customers and businesses, would you please tell, do you have such a notion, a certain similarity to the book of complaints and suggestions? Do you look through it? Or is it done at the level of dissolutions when we speak about the consumers only? Believe me, our dissatisfied clients never let us forget about them if they are dissatisfied. Weekly, I get some angry applications and agreement and announcements. Weekly, I read a nice feedback in Facebook, looking at the comments to some of the announcement of Dtek. The most efficient and speedy feedback, because it's automatically coming to the head of the business. Either this is dissolutions or Dtek grids. Mostly we have 2 recipients of such feedback. I consider that the feedback, the respect to the customer, to his or her requests, the response, timely response, is the most important reason for the development of the business which is working with the end customer. Unfortunately, there is lots of dissatisfaction. I acknowledge that, and I admit it. Our team is working at its best for this dissatisfaction to be mitigated and decreased. There are some questions with the technologies and about the amount of investments and the new system of rating and pricing for RAB. It will allow to invest more into the reliability and accessibility of the grid, and I think that this is how we get rid of certain of the complaints. The active development of the digital technologies and dissolutions which will allow to respond quickly. We are trying to follow monthly. We're getting the feedback, systematizing and providing surveys. And we have a separate department on the customer's experience. So we're getting feedback, and whether it's working, we can quickly responding. I'm objectively acknowledging and admitting the criticism. This is the criticism which I can hear as well. It's not created to punish someone or to quarrel with something, but to respond quickly and to change quickly. We have taken the proper way. And I'd like to look in the eyes of our consumers, honestly. And this will be the moment when they will give us the round of applause. Maxim Viktorovich, one more point about the proper way. There was lots of visionary approaches. I wouldn't say this is just the strategy. This is the serious vision of the very distant future, not just 2030. So lots of people say that we are living in the world of risks and opportunities. Pandemic emphasized that. But if we're speaking about the risks and opportunities, which would you name adding to what you've already mentioned? Risks and opportunities, where do you see them? Well, we need to get used to the changing character of the world, because we are permanently living in the environment of risks and opportunities, and the ability of the company to respond flexibly, to adapt and to adjust itself, to take the decisions quickly, to take away the bureaucracy which interferes into the decision-making, to know the best practices will allow us to change. Even today's strategy and our announcements are more about the trends, the vision, as you've mentioned properly, about the directions. But we cannot write down how much the business will earn in 10 years, or what's the coal extraction volume will be, because the world is rapidly changing. So Ukraine has crazy opportunities. I consider that Ukraine is an underrated country, and I'm always telling that to our potential investors. The opportunities which are given by the energy sector will never be found in any European countries but Ukraine, and both in the implementation of the technologies and customers and clients' practices, and also the ROIs, return on investments, and so on. I wouldn't speak only about the risks. There are always lots of them, and we cannot define all of them. We just need to get to know how to respond quickly. But the opportunities is what making Ukraine a unique country. Maxim Viktorovich, and the last point, the last question. Would you please tell success of Dtek? Is it possible without the success of the subjectivity of our country, without the success of Ukraine? Totally not. There cannot be one company which is successful in the country which is not successful. There cannot be possible for the company such big as Dtek in separation with Ukraine. So I think that success of Ukraine is success of Dtek, and I consider that the value line which we've presented today, first of all connecting it to Dtek, has the direct relationship to our country. The new system of coordinates in the corporate sector of business and the society is the future success of Ukraine. I'm sure that we're all proud of our country. And what we're doing that not only for our company. Okay, then thank you again. Dear ladies and gentlemen, please, let's welcome again the CEO of Dtek, Maxim Timchenko. A round of applause from you.